What is up, guys? Ivan here with getivan.com, and today I have a quick tutorial for you on how to set up automated payroll for contractors. So let me give you the quick answer here, and then I'll give you some brief explanations on how it all works together. You need Hubstaff, TransferWise, QuickBooks, WhoYou, OnlineJobs.ph. So you can use this for any kind of staff member. Doesn't matter if they're local or they're overseas. This setup can automate your payroll and your payments and all this business for anybody who's working for you. I particularly wanted to mention contractors because that's the main person that I'm concerned with, hiring contractors overseas from the Philippines mainly. So Hubstaff is a time tracking software that also has integrations that allow it to make payments, to act as a payment gateway, and to integrate with bookkeeping software. And so really with this workflow you're talking about, you're really just talking about automated payments to your employee, automated time tracking, automated payments, automated bookkeeping for those employees. And a note on the bookkeeping: if they're overseas, you don't have to do 1099 forms. But if they're local to the U.S., you do have to do 1099 forms. And that's something that, QuickBooks can keep track of and perform for you, but you can have your accountant at the end of the year actually deal with all of that. But that's only necessary if you're hiring people in the U.S. If you're hiring people overseas, it's not necessary. The only reason we integrate with QuickBooks is to just make it easier to tag what money is being spent on, in terms of hiring people and paying people for business purposes. So the dilemma here is that there's no service that does all of this in one, at least not conveniently to my knowledge. I spent about a month in 2018 for some number of hours each day, scouring through the web over dozens and dozens and dozens of websites, trying to find a solution that does all this in one. It doesn't exist to my knowledge. Okay, there's time tracking industry, and most of those services cost a few bucks a month, and they all focus on time tracking. But even though the time is being tracked, you can't send payments through these services, and you can't deal with the taxes of those individuals or store that information for bookkeeping purposes through those services. Some of them may have some integrations like that, but last time I checked, it was not a thing. And then you've got payroll software. And payroll is a very ambiguous term because it makes you think that it's dealing with all things regarding employee payment, but that's not really true. There's some services out there that call themselves payroll, and there's even some major services that don't even have payment. They're not a payment gateway. They don't deal with actually paying the employee. They just deal with the taxes. So it's a very confusing set of segmented business models, right? And then the third one, of course, is the bookkeeping software. Now, some of the bookkeeping software, like QuickBooks, they do have integrations, and all of these services have integrations. But in my research and my experience doing trials and trying to figure out what could do what, the integrations are not like a comprehensive workflow. You're just on a case-by-case basis, so I can't really necessarily comment in a broader sense. Like QuickBooks is capable of integrating with its own payroll solution, but it's very expensive. I mean, it's like $80 a month. And then that's on top of whatever you're paying for QuickBooks, which is going to range from $25 to $150 a month, depending on the features. And doing 1099s is like a whole other upsell. And so and then on top of that, there's the time tracking software they sell. I think is like $4 a month. It's cheap, but so they do have some integrations. But then when I tested it, for example, it was all it didn't work overseas very well. And so just some quick notes though. Let's take a look at some of these solutions here. So first in the line of hiring somebody would be going to onlinejobs.ph to hire someone in the Philippines. For example, you pay $70 for a month, you make a job posting, you get like 150 replies, you collect those emails, and then you can kind of do a filtering process, interviewing these people and asking them questions about, various things and looking at their portfolios and making sure they have government IDs. Once you get down to, say, 5 or 10 people that you really think would be good candidates, then you can go over to Who. Now, identity verification is this whole other world. Most of the industry solutions are based on bulk API types of setups. So they want enterprise companies to integrate with their HR departments, I guess, and bulk verify with large numbers of hires across the world. But this service, I found, they allow you to do it on demand. So you can pay. You don't want to do this one probably unless it's in the US. It's probably okay in the US. Overseas, when I tried this one, the whole identity, it got hung up because there are certain things that they can't fill out. And so then I had to get support to push it through so that I could get the core things that I wanted. This is the main one here, verify a document ID. So an ID document. So having the VA upload their government ID or their driver's license or something like that. And then that way you're able to identify who they are. And so this is really useful service. And then once you've verified someone, then you're ready to go into HubStaff. And my account is empty right now, and because I have not done agency types of, I haven't had any VAs working for me since 2018. I was ramping up in custom work, but the problem with custom work is just not scalable. It's unpredictable in a variety of ways. And so I decided to sort of take some steps back and focus more on consulting. And as I refine my consulting offer, then I'll ramp back up and I'll have to use this exact system again to get some VAs to help me with customer support and all kinds of things over time. But this is the dashboard. You can do weekly activity, and this shows the idle time and the active time. This is really useful because you have certain activities in VAs that are dedicated to things where their keyboard and their mouse are constantly active, and using this and things like the apps and URLs thing, where you can tell how much time the VA is spending on a certain page or a certain app. And there's also a feature in here that takes periodic screenshots of what's going on with the VA, so you can see what is the VA actually doing on screen. You can tell if the VA is stealing, if the employee is stealing time from you really easily with those three features: screenshots, apps and URLs, and weekly activity. In some cases, I've had VAs, tell me that they're doing something, or I'll ask them to do something or figure something out, and then I'll look at that and I'll figure out that they're just running the clock. 50% of the time is inactive, and the URL, I can see the URLs they're on, and I can see screenshots. In one case, I asked a VA to create a macro, and he said he would look into it for a process that we had been doing for a month, and I kind of just let it go to the side, and I was focused on other things. I was going to make the macro myself and then hand it to him. And over a period of, a few weeks or 2 or 3 weeks or so, I noticed that his activity time plummeted. And then I looked at the screenshots and I saw that he created the macro, but he didn't tell me. And so what he was doing was the same amount of predictable work based on our SOP, our standard operating procedure. And then he was just running the clock. So he was making the same amount of money, but he was doing the same amount of, he was getting the same result. But my plan was to optimize the process so that I could get more results and continue paying the same amount for his time, because I'm paying him for his time. And so it's really a great example, and there are many other examples of how VAs can steal time or employees can. And it's not that we want to be micromanaging, but it's really useful to be able to see, is this person honest? Are they doing what I asked them to do? I've had VAs who I've asked them to do 5 times something really, really, really simple, and then they just go and they put no effort into it and then run up the clock. And so having a piece of time tracking software like this is monumentally important if you're hiring anybody. It costs $10 a month to put someone into your system per person, and so I think that's pretty affordable by comparison. You can see activity timesheets, reports, invoices, schedules, time off, to do. So you can schedule time off. That's pretty cool. To-do lists. There's a projects and a clients folder, so you can associate clients with specific projects. So there's partial project management implemented into the system, and you can assign VAs to specific projects. And so that's really useful. You can see what's going on in specific projects. And then here's where you can set up integrations and your payments with your payroll, and you can send individual payments. There's a lot of other features and flexibility in HubStaff. HubStaff really is the hub of dealing with your staff. It is the center of dealing with your team. Now, in terms of integrations, once you get them set up in HubStaff, you got to get them set up in TransferWise. TransferWise is basically a digital bank, and you can do digital bank transfers to, I believe it goes into another person's TransferWise bank account. And then from the TransferWise bank account, people can do withdrawals. So they have options for other things like Bitwage and PayPal, and there might be some other options. I haven't looked in a while. PayPal is not the regular PayPal standard, it's PayPal mass payments. And you can't, according to the terms of service, you cannot use PayPal mass payments for payroll purposes. So I called them and I asked, and that's what they said. So it's an option, you can use it. But if you get caught, who knows what the consequences might be on your account. And certainly that would be deactivated. And so, I made the decision not to base what I was doing in this aspect of my business around that ambiguity. Is this going to be working, in the future? And is this going to be a problem? So I chose to do Bitwage, and Bitwage was a disaster. I mean, it's supposed to come with identity verification built in, but it was just really, it did not work. I had to exchange like 40 different emails with customer support, and at the end of the road, it didn't work properly. It was sloppy and messy. It was a nightmare. TransferWise is super, super clean, really simple, really easy to use. Bank transfers, okay? And it's international, so you can pay anyone anywhere in the world, and they can convert currency right there in their TransferWise account, okay? All right, so you've got them in HubStaff, TransferWise, and now there's an integration with QuickBooks. And QuickBooks is very deceptive. They're very expensive. They put all these sale prices, and it's just so dishonest. If I didn't have to use them because of various integration purposes and convenience and things like that, I absolutely wouldn't. I don't think that they're honest company. The retail price for this plan is $70 a month. I was paying that for a while because I thought I needed it because of this 1099 contractor type of thing that came with this plan. But it's a ripoff. You only really need maybe this plan. You just need a way to easily have your accountant every year when you do taxes to tag things. And you can integrate it with HubStaff so that the two can communicate with each other, and the accountant can easily see. He can easily tag, what the expense is from HubStaff. There are other things too here. You'll see that, QuickBooks, like I was saying earlier, it can do other things like this self-service payroll is $80 a month, plus $4 a month per employee. So it's massively expensive. And I remember when I was messing with it, I could not get it to work with contractors. Like in terms of payroll and all that. Their time tracking software is probably pretty good. It's really cheap, but the question is, like, can you get it to integrate with a bunch of other things? And when I tested it, I wasn't able to see a viable way of doing everything in one fell swoop. And so that basically concludes this video. If you decide to use this system, please make sure to use some of these affiliate links below this video. I would really appreciate it, especially Hubstaff and TransferWise. Online, if you decide to use Online Jobs PH, that would be a good one too. I'd really appreciate that. But that's the whole setup. You know, you hire someone, you can verify their ID, you can get them in the Hubstaff, and using Hubstaff, you can integrate it with TransferWise to send payments automatically. You just have to fill TransferWise with money, and Hubstaff will automatically send those payments based on your criteria. Like I did mine once a week, every Friday, I think it was. And then you can cancel pending payments or adjust them if something goes wrong with VA. And then you connect it to QuickBooks, and then you can more easily keep track of financial data that way. So that's pretty much it. That is basically the model of my agency's like employee management system, and to be able to track their time and make sure they're getting paid and make sure that I have records for financial purposes. So that's it. I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.